Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Divine Awakenings podcast series. And so we've got an amazing guest today. And this guest is, another brother soul brother that's come in, that's been aligned. And I asked God actually, and I said, can you bring me more people for my podcast? And literally that day, this guest was then presented to me. So, Toby, thank you so much for saying yes for coming on my podcast. And Toby is a father of two. He is referred to as a mystic with his interest in etymology, symbology, mythology, astrology, all the astrologies, ologies at the end, and philosophy and even psychology. And this has really helped him read between the lines in a lot of the areas that we presented in what we see as our reality and see the energy behind that as well, particularly in etymology. This is been an area that's revealed truth to him. And so we'll be getting into language and etymology specifically today. But and you are a guest on a round table that you do every week. And so I can share all those details below. So thanks for saying yes to coming on this podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Very interesting. And I had to stop us before because, like, oh my God, you're sharing so many golden nuggets already. Let's save this for when we're recording. And there's some things that you mentioned that I would like to just recap on just for the audience because I thought I was really interested. And this was all about the Trinity that you were referring to. And so, and just for me, I kind of just like to go straight in, really like to go quite deep. And so I really like want to open this conversation up with really what is your relationship with the divine creator God, and how does that play out for you in your life, particularly how that's evolved since you started to have an interest in language and with etymology, and your journey of accumulating knowledge but anchoring that into not just the being in the mind, but anchoring that and more being cohesive and with the heart now as well.
Yeah, well, so it I started sort of expanding my awareness in 2021, I think, not too long ago. So before then, I was like from a teenager. So I'm 34 now. From a teenager till about 2021, I used to go out every weekend, drinking lots, doing drugs, like being on autopilot. Like I used to go out for sometimes like 3 day benders. And I'd call myself there like now, like I was then a transhuman. You have transhumanism, like which is like machines, but really it's just they want people in the trance, and I was in the trance. And I was filling the void with drugs and alcohol. And in 2021, I I went to a meeting in my town, a group, uh, Freedom Network, and I wasn't really aware that there were people who were aware of what was going on. I'd been listening to podcasts and stuff, and I just thought like that there's not really anyone around me to talk to about this kind of stuff. So that was so refreshing. And then I found a document of Southern Water, which I can't remember how I found it, but it's called Water Futures Towards 2050. If anyone wants to look that up, very dystopian. And I found that, I shared that with them, and it was just such a great feeling to be able to like share my own research with people.
Can I just stop you? When you say
And
aware of what's going on, what do you mean by that?
well, so when what happened in 2020, I don't know really what if certain words I can use or not, because with COVID, so usually I'll be like
Yeah. Right. Okay.
in
Just wanted to
2020.
establish. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know, like, because unless it's said beforehand, sometimes people say, yeah, don't mention this stuff, try and like we can talk about it, but YouTube flags stuff up, especially in the first 15 minutes.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
so
I've said it on this channel before, so you're fine.
awesome. All right, good to know. So yeah, with COVID, I looked into that when it was happening. I wasn't aware of the magic. I wasn't aware of the depth of it, because I was still sort of like, not like I've always been like, I guess I'll use the word awake, not aware. Um, Awake. And in school, I used to ask questions all the time. I used to get into trouble for that, just going against the grain, thinking outside of the box. I've always been like that. But that children like that aren't really like what's the word? Like you're told you have like ADHD or whatever, just thinking outside the box, thinking differently. So it's they don't really have much guidance. I wasn't guided, so therefore I went off the path and was on the path of drugs and drinking and stuff like that. But yeah, in 2020, what happened then? I did research and I saw that they were in experiments, the jabs, until 2023. So I was like, okay, they're in experiments. I was sharing information on social media and stuff about Bill Gates, about the Rockefellers. I was listening to podcasts. So many people who I've met since were calling me an idiot for sharing that stuff, and they've now since apologized. But the plot thickens because now Bill Gates is getting advice from Epstein. So it's like really what was happening then is people were taking advice from pedos, and how many people are they still taking advice from, like Elon Musk. You know, he may not be, but he's the richest person in the world, and all of these billionaires, all of these tech people like Peter Thiel, which is an anagram of reptile. It seems that in this society you only get a lot of money if you're like from doing nefarious things. Like people who are wise or kind and stuff, they seem to the system seems to not be built for them. But I really strongly feel, and I always have felt, that we're here to shake that up. We're here to shift that, and this kind of ties into like the 3D to 5D, because that's kind of like it seems to be a bit of an escapist thing. I hear people in community, spiritual community, saying like, yeah, we just need to like transcend to the 5D and stuff. And all that is going beyond time. But I like to like flip things on the head and reverse them, because a lot of our symbols and language have been flipped and inverted by the satanic technocrats. So with oh, I've just lost my train of thought.
Now just sharing about how you started to share information and started to like with your community and
yeah. So I sort of went off track then a little bit. So my whole point was this water document.
yeah,
I found this and I was like, I realized the importance of water, and then I was thinking I'd like to have faith in a God, but the God that we've kind of been told, the story of the Bible and stuff, like especially the First Testament, if anything, that pushes away people away from God, which has been happening for a long time, to kind of detach us from source, from God. But I started looking into different gods, and I found Thoth, um, who's an Egyptian god of writing and scribes and like wisdom and the moon. And at the time, I was starting to write a book called Systematic Zoo, which is a sci-fi young adult fiction book about everything that's going on, but it's the truth in fiction. So I was like, okay, I'll reach out to Thoth, which I just perceive as thought, hence scribes and writing and magics. It all comes from thought. So I just put out a signal, and um, then I started researching more, because I work as a cleaner. I clean people's houses using eco products. This is why I've been able to learn so much in the last 5 or 6 years, is by listening to podcasts. And when my body's moving, my mind can absorb the information better. And even while listening to conversations, I'll get downloads and I'll get things which I'm not listening to, which are from outside me. And I'm able to discern what's true and what's not. And I hear controlled oppositions a lot on podcasts, and I'll listen anyway. I know they're there to try and muddy the water, but I'll just sieve out, and I'll just take the pieces of gold which are there, because there always are some truths, but you've got to have a filtration system, which I can explain later. So yeah, and then I found Enki from the one of the Anunnaki. I have Enlil and Enki, but Enki was a god of knowledge, wisdom, and fresh water. Used to be a name for the earth as well. And then I was like, oh, okay. So Enki's the good one, Enlil's the bad one, because Enki is the water and earth, and Enlil is the air, is the mind, and there seems to be a mind virus. And then now, just recently, I've kind of gone out of that paradigm of this and that, um, beyond perceiving, beyond giving my power to any of these gods, but seeing that the name God is guardian of dimensions. And there are many gods, which because there are many guardians of dimensions, and all that is doorways, dormant energies in our psyche. Um, for example, you have Pan, god of nature. You have Hecate, who's the keeper of keys, guardian of thresholds and stuff, and liminal spaces. And then you have all of these different names for like there's gods of water, gods of air, of fire, and stuff. So I've just become open to all of them and sort of just seeing them for what they are, for what anything is, and that's just energy and the essence. And is the energy and the essence good or is it bad? And I've been very drawn to water and all things water and all gods which are to do with water, because for me water is God. Water is source. We're in water, we see through water. We're born in water. When we die, we go through water. The firmament above, there's waters above and there's waters below. Our DNA is in water, in fourth phase exclusion zone water, which is plasma. And water seems to transcend time and space, and it defies time and space, and it's everywhere. So for me, that is God. With a big G, thus
Mm,
far. And
mm,
there are many lesser gods which are just like guardians of thresholds, of doorways. And then when you
mm,
get a key, which is knowledge, you use your intuition to see if you want to go through that doorway or not. And I've opened up many doorways in my mind via mythology, etymology, symbology, and stuff. And I feel better for doing so because I had lots of neural pathways closed off. So yeah. And also, I just need to mention that when I say neural pathways with like water and liminal spaces with Hecate, that's not just the mind. I mean, neural pathways are the mind, but um, liminal spaces is more of like the space in between, and the subconscious, which is more associated with the water, but the depths, the deep water. So you have thought, but then some that thought can go sometimes beyond your mind. When you sync it with your heart, you've got to go into it with intuition. Knowledge is one thing,
mm,
knowing the ledge, but with knowing the ledge, you can build up walls and
mm,
barricade yourself to source or to God. With intuition, if you apply that with the knowledge, you can have the wisdom to know to dissolve the walls and to just
mm.
be in union with what people call God.
Yeah, amazing. And just touching on that, because with obviously everything that you're sharing and the podcast, you can go down rabbit holes, right? And it can take you deep in, and it can actually can be a distraction as well, and it can actually take you on the wrong path. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how have you been able to really anchor in the knowledge into your heart? And so there's this cohesion there, and you're able to really discern. And maybe this is what you've learned with the filtration you were saying, and
Yeah.
maybe some practical steps that you can share with us that you've done and applied to your life.
Yeah, sure. So a filtration system I use, I use the word synchromistic, um, and I wasn't sure what that word meant, but I can figure out what words mean just by splitting the word and playing around with the language and um, making up my own story of what that frequency is, which is a word. And then I'll find out what the word means, and it's sometimes quite mundane. And I'm like, oh, I prefer my made up one because it is what it is. Like a question is a quest with your ions. It's a journey you take for your energy. That's a question. But if you search up the definition of the question, it's very mundane. It's not a quest with your energy. So sometimes you have to kind of get the knowledge and use that intuition, make our own hero's journey, go into the dark and bring the light out. So my filtration process is so with synchromistic, I'll use that word. So your mind is like a sink. This symbol here with the two arms up is Ka. In Egypt, the Ka would be the vital essence or life force, which kind of reminds me of a cup or like the Holy Grail. And its arms outstretched like this, much like the American football goalpost, and then the American footballs are a pineal gland, which you throw through the head, the goalposts. So anyway, this car is the cup, and you let things come down, like you let thoughts come down into you from, I guess, from farther, from above, like light codes come down, like rain, pitter patter, like raindrops. So you let it come into your cup, you let it sink in. But what's happened is that we've been cut off at the neck here. Our vagus nerve has been severed, and Las Vegas is named after the vagus nerve because I can get into that later. I'll just say it really quickly that the CIA and the mafia built Las Vegas, and the reason we have blue light in technology is because they were trying to find a way to wirelessly make people docile because they put electrical cables in people's brains and they were trying to make them more easily susceptible. And they found that with blue light, because it's magnetism, it draws your light out, it draws your gaze, and it drains your energy, and it makes you glued to the screen. So they put all of these in the slot machines, had no windows, got people drunk. And that seems to be not just in Las Vegas, but just in the world today. You have people driving along the road here on their phones. They can't put it down. Whether they're drunk or not, I don't know. But at least they've got the windows open.
So we shouldn't be using the blue light then on our phones, the filter.
Yeah, blue light filter
Don't use it.
is very important to have because
Oh, it is, right.
blue is magnetic,
Right.
red is electric. That's why red light saunas are so good for you because they're kind of bringing energy in, I guess. And the blue light pulls. That's why it grabs your attention. That's why kids have tantrums when you take this drug away from them because it is a drug. And as well as being a drug, it's been made out to be the new god, which we can get into later or in another chat because that might be a bit of a
yeah,
bit of a
maybe a part 2 and 3.
but yeah, what did I originally start saying? Because I tend to go down rabbit holes, and that's all well and good if we've got loads of time. But
yeah, you're talking about well, it was the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve, yes. So that's so important because the vagus nerve connects the brain and heart. It's to do with your central nervous system. And the reason I mentioned Las Vegas is because our vagus nerve has been corrupted or severed. This is why there seems to be a heart-brain disconnection in the world because of what happened in Las Vegas and this blue light in technology kind of making people docile and detached and basically detaching people from God. And there was an experiment done in 2015 using magnetism, blue light, which I can show later or another time. But my point in saying this is everything's connected. So the vagus nerve, Las Vegas, the blue light, they've actually done experiments that detach people from God using this blue light magnetism. It's all connected. So anyway, my filtration system. So the mind is the cup. That's where you have the sink. But people can get quite heavy when they're just thinking with their minds. You can get quite weighed down, like you're sinking, like hence the sink. And if you start of what's the word? So that's the sink, and then the row is the heart. So if you're able to let the information come into your cup, into your mind, and filter it with your heart, which is the reverse osmosis filtration, which is the spin, because your heart's a vortex.
Mm.
And with if you vortex water, when water spins, because that's when water's happiest, when it's spinning, and that's how nature moves as well. Nature only moves in spirals, there's no straight lines. That when you vortex water like this, you can kind of get these little like vortex thingies, which you put in between two glass bottles of water. You have one full, one empty, you tip it, and the water spins, it creates a vortex. When you drink the water afterwards, it tastes better, like the water's like happier. So with the heart, which is a vortex, if you let this information spin, and this is having the anchor point, which is the pin, and then the S, which is the spin, you can kind of release the heaviness, like the reverse osmosis filter gets rid of heavy metals. You can get rid of the dense information that you don't need. So what most people do is they just get information in their mind, they don't filter it with their heart. As soon as you start getting information with your mind and filtering it with your heart, that's the synchro. And then to row as well is to move, you know, and like you do that with an oar. And when you're in awe, what is that? You're in awe of something, and that's love. That's a frequency. So your awe is your movement, is your road. You just have to be moved. Does information move you, and how does it move you? Because empathy and anger have both been weaponized. The red and blue, the water and the fire. People's angry, or people so empathetic that they just kind of, our emotions are being weaponized. So that's the sync, and then the row, and then the mystic is the my stick, which is the stick is the wand, which is our wonder, or kind of our stick, the mystic. So I've explained this better before.
You do great.
I just, yeah, I'm not 100%. That's why. So I think it's important to say yesterday I did have a fever. Today I'm still a bit poorly, so like I'm not like processing 100%. But so you have the sync, row, and then the mystic. The stick is like when something's sticky that connects. So I kind of view this in a couple of different ways. The stick can either be like a fishing line that you cast out into the waters which are all around us, the vast ocean of awareness, and see what sticks to it, see what connects. But you have to acknowledge the vast ocean of awareness around us, because if you're closed off to it, nothing will stick. And you'll just let things come and things will go. Things will come through your cup, reverse osmosis, great, but then stuff will go. It's very important to be connected to stuff, like what stays true for you. And that's what the mystic is, I believe, is the sort of connection to source, via your wand, which is your stick, your wander, or like your fishing line that you cast out. But it's important to have some kind of stick, some kind of connection, because things just can come and things can just go. So having this process of the synchro mystic, stuff comes into my mind, I get the knowledge, I know the ledge, and then I reverse osmosis with my heart. Does it sit right? How does it feel? Does it move me? And then how it depends how it moves me, depends how I research it myself. I'll go into it different ways, and why I look at symbology, etymology, mythology, all the G's. That's your energy, the inner guide, the inner gnosis. That's the God. And yeah, so yeah, I hope that makes sense. I have explained it before, but like I said, I'm not 100%.
Yeah, no, it's
The
fine.
processing is not.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that was really great. And I think it's really good practical ways in which we can start filtering out the overstimulus of information. I mean, where I'm at in my life right now is everything is becoming so simple, because I've been down the rabbit holes. I've done all of these things. I've looked into etymology and things like that. And flat earth, I've done it all, right? And I'm like, how is it actually helping me? And I think all I'm doing now is I've come, and I was speaking to you before about how Christ, Yeshua is really strong in my life right now, and how I'm connecting and building a relationship with Yeshua and God, and the God with a G. And I've, done mantras and I've worshipped other gods and all these things. And I wanted to ask you what the word, because in the Bible it talks about idols and not focusing on idols. And I would want interesting to know what idol means in etymology, but also like we can put an idol on anything, because I know that I'm so into my health and well-being and being raw vegan. I was realizing I was putting health as an idol. It was putting an above, and so I started to see, and that word kept coming to me loads in scripture. And so it'd be interesting to know what the word scripture means as well in etymology. But yeah, I'm finding this really interesting. So, and I think it will be useful for people to really have these practical tools to do it. And so, yeah, so I suppose for you, it's really helped you kind of distinguish what's truth and what isn't. And how has etymology then done that for you with the language? Because language has been infiltrated, right? And so, how is that? Why is that? Why do you believe it's been, distorted? And
Mhm.
how has it shown you truth?
Well, I'd love to go talk more about the distortion,
Yeah,
perhaps after I've spoken about etymology, because it ties in with I can tie in a myth there as well, and the
yeah.
Trinity with the distortion. So I'll just make a note of that quickly, because otherwise I'll definitely forget. But yeah, with etymology and language, and I think like what's been under attack is our imagination, really, especially with the emergence of AI. It's very clear that the imagination is under attack. And the imagination is more of our inner child. That's the childlike play and wonder.
Mm,
And that's the central pillar. That is the I, the child. Whereas you have the mother, the father, the child, and we are all the divine children. We have the mothers and fathers. Just look at it as fire and water, or the this and then that. We are the sort of we're the central observer. Like we have our so with the Trinity, we have the mind, body, soul. In Hermeticism, there's one of the Hermetic principles. I believe it's the first one. All is mental, which means all is mind, and that's just another word for spirit. So all is spirit. The spirit is all that is everywhere, and the spirit is the I would say is the kind of like I guess ether. It's kind of the fiery wind, which the fire and wind are masculine elements. So I would say that is the father, which comes from further, and then we have the mother, which is the waters, which is the womb in which we're in, the matrix.
mm,
Matrix means womb, and that's a
mm,
whole other psyop to make us try and reject the matter, reject the mother. So we go into the digital realms, or
mm.
want to leave and escape this place and go to Mars or wherever.
Yeah,
But then like our we are like the sort of the middle way of that. So with language, I just have fun with it, and I do look into what words mean sometimes, but I mainly just like split them, play with them. So for example, Emmanuel,
mm,
that signals to me like E is always energy. And so that signals to me energy manual, Emmanuel, or it's a manual, because you can swap all the vowels around in language. Hebrew doesn't actually have any vowels, but what you'll find is when you play with language and stuff, you can swap all the vowels around and it's the same word. So Emmanuel is a manual. It's just how to be. That makes
mm,
sense.
mm,
Like with my research and stuff, I've managed to find like how stuff is like really quickly. Just like
mm,
if I never heard the word Emmanuel, someone would say, "Oh, if you heard this guy Emmanuel," it's like, no, but it sounds like he's a manual, like a way to be. And then,
mm,
oh yeah, he's done all these writings. Yeah, well that makes sense because in his name. Yeshua is yes you are. Yes you are Christ.
mm,
Jesus, Ja is her. You pronounce Ja her, so he's us. So this is just the story of us. There may well have been a guy who was healing people and trying to overthrow the corrupt usury. And I certainly believe there have been many. Um, there certainly have been many. Um, but I think that so I don't really want to stray too far away from the question, but
Mm.
well, actually, it kind of does link because you mentioned idols and
Mm.
stuff. So the word idol is I, it's like the I, and the doll is like a puppet.
Mm.
So if you idolize something, I guess you can kind of be a puppet for that thing.
Makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the word, but I don't know what the etymology. I say etymology, it's more of like I make stuff up and it seems to like work.
Yeah.
Like it,
Yeah.
but it's if you
Mm.
look up the word idol, I'm not sure what it would mean, but that seems to be what it is. Because
Mm.
when I mentioned gods like Hecate and stuff, like people say, oh, Hecate needs offerings and worship and stuff. Otherwise, I've never worshipped any gods.
Mm.
I found a wooden statue of Anubis who's so he would be Saint Christopher, who's been depicted with like a dog head, because Saint Christopher, Christ Topher, just means Christ bearer, Christ carrier. He's the one that carries Christ across the river, across the waters. Anubis is the one that carries our Christ across the waters when we pass on to the next place. So they're the same. Anubis is has a dog head. It's an Egyptian god. But yeah, I don't worship. I just open up myself to like what they're about. Like
Mm.
Hecate, guardian of thresholds. She's linked with like the underdog, and keeper of keys and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds really interesting. I'll open myself up to that, and I have. I've not worshipped her or anything. So when
Mm.
I mention these gods, I'm just interested in like what they represent, and it's all fragments of the one energy of one source. And I think that
Mm.
what's been what's been really sad to see is that people have closed themselves off to all these different ways of thinking and ways of using our imagination to kind of be focused on the more 1% physical matter, because there's a field all around us which is like the 99%. And what's happened is that people are so focused on a singular thing. So I mean, it's yeah. Um yeah, I mean I hope that answered your question in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's great. It's great. And I just wanted to touch back on the water you were talking about because, do you have do you have the filtration system that you use to obviously what do you use? Because I'm sure people might want to know, like,
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is, well, we use a reverse osmosis filter under the sink,
mhm.
because if you taste tap water, I live in Lewes, so a town near you, it you can taste the pharmaceuticals in the water. So I'm just very conscious of any chemicals I put into my body, because even people you walk past in the street, you can smell the washing powder they use for their clothes. And smell is so important for memory and just awareness.
Mm.
And that's just one of the many things that's under attack. Lots of people lost their smell in 2020.
Mm.
And so I'm just very aware of anything I put on my body that I wouldn't put in my mouth, because your skin is the biggest organ. And when it comes to drinking water, there's so much stuff in our water that having a reverse osmosis filter just gets rid of lots of the rubbish, like heavy metals and other stuff. And then we've got I'll just show you. I'll just grab it quickly. So then we've got a couple of these. They're Miron glass bottles. So you might not be able to see, but they're kind of like ultraviolet.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Mm.
can see because there's
Yeah, yeah.
so much sunlight coming through, but so they're ultraviolet. So basically water that you buy in the supermarket that's under LED lighting. LED lighting actually it dehydrates your blood first of all, so sitting under it isn't good for our water. Um, and with the water which is in LED lighting, it actually it actually makes the water turns the water like dead. it doesn't make it like alive anymore. So what we do is we put reverse osmosis our water. We've got a little tap, put it in here, add a little bit of Celtic sea salt and some electrolytes, because when
Mm.
you filter it, it takes most of the stuff out of the water. um Distilled water takes everything out. Reverse osmosis takes a lot of the stuff out. I
Mm.
was drinking just filtered water for 2 weeks without adding any electrolytes or salt, and I started getting really lightheaded and dizzy.
Mm.
Um, and I think perhaps that's because I wasn't having any of the minerals from the water. Maybe, I don't know. Obviously, you get
Mm.
minerals and stuff from eating like fruit and vegetables and stuff like that.
Mm.
But what's been really interesting is I think we've been drinking this for about a year now, and the last few months I've been seeing a blue light in my vision. It's more of like a deep, dark blue, almost purple, like Miron, basically, in my vision, just randomly. It's quite a bright light. And what I think it is because we see through water, our eyes are water. And
Mm.
what I think it is that the water has been in the bottle here, and then I'm drinking it. And then my eyes are mirroring that somehow, because water can see. I'm not sure if you've heard of Vader Austin.
No.
Vader Austin. So have you heard of Namoto?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
The
she's
book.
taken that much further, and she
Ah.
yeah, she's amazing. She's so what she does is people can do this at home as well. So you get some water, you put it in like a glass petri dish, put a photo under it, or speak or have an intention, and then you put it in the freezer for about 6 minutes until it becomes a plasma, which is like more of a gel in between liquid and solid. And then you can hold it up, and it creates images in the water. So if you look up Vader Austin's work, and the thing is, this isn't just like a couple of images randomly. Thousands and thousands of people have done it all around the world, like repeated as well, and they're called hydroglyphs. So, for an example, we used to have an ice bath, and I was in there with my kids, and I was going one at a time, guys, one at a time, just saying one again and again. My partner took some water from the ice bath, did this, held it up, and there was a letter one, but
Oh, wow.
it wasn't a line. It was like a a line like that, like a proper one,
Wow.
so clearly. And we were like, why is that there? And we remembered I was shouting one at a time, so the water's picked up on that, and water's just like that. It's something which is like everywhere, and we
Mm.
need it, and we've kind of buried it and ignored it. And anything to do with like, so water is like a feminine element, it's divine feminine, like um water's to do with like emotion and flow and stuff, and like life giving. And there used to be drinking water outside most churches, which have now been turned into war memorials. We've got one just down the road, which has a big cross on the war memorial, and there would have been a fresh spring there,
Mm.
because so I'm going to say something that might be a bit controversial, but maybe not churches. But I 100% think cathedrals were built by Gnostics, not Christians, and I think that Yeshua was a Gnostic. He wasn't a Christian or a Jew or anything. There was a time from age 12 to like 30 when there's no record of that time, and that's for a reason. How is there records of like all the other times, but not that? That's
Mm.
because he went to to the Great Pyramid in Cairo, which you see in the center of crosses, the X and the P. Have you seen that
Mm.
before? The Cairo cross. So there's a Celtic cross outside the church, and in the
Mm.
middle it's got an X and a P. You'll see that in the center of lots of crosses, and that means that's Cairo. The X is Kai or Chi, and then the P is you pronounce Ro. So
Mm.
the Cairo, that's for a reason, because you can also pronounce it Hiro, hero. So that's in the center of the cross, because it's showing that the hero is within. And it's interesting that that time when kids should be initiated from 12 onwards, when kids aren't initiated anymore into the great mystery. He was, and that's such a shame that that teaching hasn't been passed on, because that's where he would have learned energy healing,
Yeah.
and all of this other
We're in
stuff.
training at that stage. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that that is such a shame that that teaching's not being passed on. It's kind of lost, and it's not common. And what's
Mm.
absurd is that if he was alive today, he'd be called a conspiracy theorist, wouldn't he? Or
Oh
like
God, absolutely.
or like a few hundred years ago,
Mm.
he would have been called like a witch or whatever, because
Mm.
even like to some Christians, energy healing and stuff is being kind of like demonized,
Mm.
which is so warped. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky, because the person Yeshua, I don't know too much about him and his story and stuff, but I'm open to all things. But it's just such a shame that the church is being corrupted, because they
Mm.
were built by Gnostics, which is just like the people who wanted to attain gnosis via knowledge and intuition. And the huge cathedrals, they mirror the Great Pyramid, where there'd be fast flowing water underneath, built with granite. And there's a reason that they were called organs, because they're places of healing.
Mm.
And World War I, World War II was all about destroying these places of healing and
Mm.
detuning all these church bells and stuff. And I think it's a very interesting time we're in now, because we're just starting to realize this and starting to remember, and starting
Mhm.
to bring these ways of being back, because nothing is lost. Things might have
Mm.
been buried,
Mm.
like like our DNA is in water, which
Mm.
is more of like the dark, or the unknown in the waters.
Mhm.
95% of that is junk, quote unquote, DNA.
Mm.
95% of what we are is subconscious, which is the same as our DNA, or same as our junk DNA. So our subconscious and our junk DNA are intertwined. This is just untapped potential,
Mm.
which contains everything that there has ever been and ever will be, maybe just all of this ancient wisdom, which is going to counteract the artificial intelligence. The ancient intelligence, AI, will overpower the artificial. It's the artificial that's in play at the moment, but I think perhaps that's triggering people to go more inwards and uncover all of these sort of like ancient wisdom uh,
Mm.
that would have
Mm.
been taught
Yeah.
back in the time of Yeshua, which would have been common then. This is why I don't. People seem to like worship or idolize one guy, and I don't know if that's a psyop or not. Because I think that this might have been very common for people to be healers, for
Mhm.
people to be like uh, anti-establishment and stuff. It might have been quite common, but perhaps
Mm.
if people like idolized one person, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really too sure
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, I mean, it depends. With anything, it's like what it invokes in you is that's all that matters. It's just how
Yeah.
we vibrate. So
Yeah. I mean, for me
yeah,
personally, I mean, my journey coming to Christ, because I am not religious at all.
yeah,
I haven't really, it's only now I've started to look at scripture, and it's when I'm guided to look at scripture. Because what has come really clear to me
mm,
is that Yeshua isn't just another prophet, or he is God incarnate. He is actually, this is my belief, that
yeah,
he is God in the flesh. God came down in the flesh. And there's a lot of more around his death and resurrection, of how symbolic that was, and
yeah,
how that really did, and I've done a video on this, his death and resurrection was all planned in the spirit before it even happened here in the flesh. And he came here because we were so in the depth of darkness that we weren't able to pull ourselves out. So he had to, it was all kind of like coming into it's like in a court system basically where he was put on the cross, and that by virtue of him being put on the cross and his death was like he scooped up all of the darkness from humanity, and he took that on himself, and so he suffered, and he did suffer in pain as well. And I had a huge revelations around that on my water fast, and obviously that was when God was able to say, right, imagine if you go to court and you understand, you are punished and you are sentenced. That's kind of was the sentence, his death, but it was the sentence for all of humanity of all of the wrongdoings that we've done in the past. And when his resurrection was like the new human has been born, the new conscious human. So there's opportunities for all of us now is to be this new human, this new creation, and to actually be Christ-like, God-like. And that's the teachings that he's sharing now, to live God-like and to return back to that divinity that's within you. And what I keep getting is the kingdom of heaven is within. And coming to Yeshua is the bridge for me getting to have a deeper relationship with God and not worshipping, because that is who I am. I am God, right? But we, like you said, we've been cut off, and we were cut off. There's more nefarious stuff around how we've been cut off. Yes, the vagus nerve, and even you talked about that. They used to pull out the vagus nerves, and doctors used to do that, didn't they? And pull that out, and it's all, like you say, connected to the central nervous system, and it's the gut-brain connection, and all of that. So it's so very layered. But I think for Yeshua, he is reflecting back my divinity of who I am, and he's pulling me out of the programming, the deep programming. He's showing me the spiritual battle that we're really in, and that it's a battle for the mind. But he's also showing me to build the connection with God, but also helping me see life through his eyes, through compassion, through love, which is because he went to help those who were there, looked at as the lowest of the low. He didn't help the rich, and all of these that were well-to-do. He didn't go to those type of people. He went to those people that were, labels, even prostitutes, the filthy, the dirty. Or he went to those people, like his disciples were, the well-to-do ones. So I believe that God, Yeshua, is God in the flesh. And all aspects of that, don't get me wrong, but we've come through a filtration of going through the soul, the oversoul, into the soul, into the body. So that's just my take on that. I don't know if you've got anything to say about
that. Well, I see, I struggle like with when I hear stories of like stuff in the past of people and stuff, and like with timelines I struggle with, because I'm a very skeptical person. I'm very open, and I most certainly believe there was a person called Yeshua who did amazing things, but there's lots of things that I don't trust. For example, earlier you mentioned like amen.
Mm-hmm.
So just with that, do you know what it means?
Well, I thought it meant all men, but men meaning man, like men and women, not just like, oh, it's masculine. It's like all human, because Yeshua he says man a lot, but he's not referring just to the masculine man. All humans.
Yeah, because man is just mon. You swap the A and the zero and you get mon, which is one. So all ones. But amen. I'm of the understanding that it comes from Amen Ra, who would be Marduk, who would be associated with, well, Marduk was the one that slayed Tiamat, the mother of all the gods, like this ancient dragon. But also Marduk's associated with Mars. Elon Musk has been saying that he wants to go to Mars for ages, which, they can't get out from the water. Matter can't leave this realm. Only light can. Only light comes in and light goes out. They can't get out of their machines. This is why they want to turn everything digital and try and like transcend that way. But when Elon Musk has been saying he wants to go to Mars, I've just had this feeling that it means he just wants to bring Mars here. And Mars just represents war and empire, and there's no water on Mars. So it's just basically a suppression of the waters, the feminine, the intuition, which has been happening for a long time. But this is the AI, the artificial, um, the more kind of electric opposed to the sort of plasma or magnetic. Obviously, we need to be balanced, but yeah, I've heard that Amen is means Amen Ra, which is Marduk, and the reason why I started doing my research 5 or 6 years ago is because I wanted to have faith, and I just believe that there's definitely been some kind of siphoning of our collective energy. And if so many people go to church and so many people for so long have been saying like prayers and stuff and finishing it with amen and wearing a cross as well, like wearing a cross, why would you wear a cross? Like that does not symbolize life, it symbolizes death. And I understand why, because it's like, oh, don't forget that he died for our sins and stuff, and that's another topic too. But
Mhm.
the Ankh is a cross with a loop on top, which is the feminine
I'm
womb.
knowing now, yeah.
Exactly, and that means life. We
Mm.
need to be acknowledging life, not acknowledging death. I guess we need to like remember, but we need to bring in life into this realm, not death into this realm.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've just been very skeptical about the church because at the front there's always an eagle, and the eagle seems to be a symbol for war and empire that I've noticed, and
Mhm.
I've asked why that's always at the church. Why not a snake? The snake represents like intuition and wisdom, and it was the snake that told Eve to eat from the fruit of the tree of good and evil, which is good because we want to know what is good and what is evil. We want to have awareness. We want to awaken from our slumber. Whereas the blind god, who would be the demiurge, wanted to keep humanity trapped in this trance, which we see emerging now. And that's the Gnostic story of the demiurge, which they thought that this realm was a prison planet, but I think it was more of a warning that a demiurge would, a false god would emerge, and this would be a blind god, which is AI now, and that this ties into the eighth sphere, which is eight Sophia, which is something is like eating our wisdom, taking our wisdom, and then this is how empty shells are created, which you see a lot in the world, people walking around, but like there's no light in there. Like where it's gone, I don't know, but people have been corrupted somehow. And my point in this is that our thoughts are very powerful. It's how we manifest in this world. Like our thoughts, very powerful energy. It's the force that comes through us that we can channel. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff I don't trust, like Amen, because it's Amen Ra and Marduk. Um,
Mm.
there's other ways I've heard. I think is it from the Aramaic. The Aramaic prayer is like it ends with like it starts with like "O cosmic creator" rather than "Our Father who art in heaven." Now,
Mhm.
"O Father who art in heaven," art is create, and heaven is another name for the mind. So, our Father who creates in the mind is very like like it's very like mind based. Whereas "O cosmic creator" is more of like an expanded thing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
there's subtle ways that like language has been changed, and if so many people have been saying "Amen" for so long, why is the world the way it is now? Why isn't this energy of this Christ like blossoming? It seems that something has leaked into this realm, and I'm not saying that it's from this. It's very subtle, like of so many things. It's like red is masculine fire, blue is feminine water. I told blue is boys, and pink, which is watered down red, is girls. That's flipped and reversed. This is why people have been tangled up in the threads of this like tapestry in which we're in. They've
Mm.
been kind of like tangled up. They don't know where we are, where we're going, who we are, and stuff. But yeah, so I'm just very, very aware of language because I understand how powerful it is. But with the Trinity and the distortion, have you heard of the myth of Narcissus at all?
No.
Okay, so with the myth of Narcissus, the if you look on YouTube like I did to try and do some research, there will be no acknowledgement of his sister. The story of Narcissus goes this is where we get narcissism from. Narcissus was obsessed with himself, and he was looking into this pool of water, and Echo was on the side, and Echo would repeat every last thing he said, and he basically got caught in a loop, and he got rooted to the spot because he thought he was communicating with his reflection. But it was really Echo repeating every last word he said, and the flower that he turned into was a daffodil, and daffodils have a compound which helps treat Alzheimer's. So this whole myth is to do with memory. So the original myth, he had a twin sister, and this is so important because we have a twin. We're not just. It would be called your daemon or your other, or your conscious, your subconscious. So Narcissus would be the conscious mind, which is like 5%. His twin sister would represent the subconscious mind, because all these myths are just archetypal energies of our psyche. So his sister being killed is just symbolic of the subconscious being suppressed or hidden. And then he was looking into this pool of water, and the water represents matter, which is the world, the realm in which we're in. And Echo is AI, because Echo is to do with air, rebounding, and AI is air, is the mind. And what Echo is doing is distorting the pool of water that we look into so that we can't see with clarity. And my point in saying this is that this kind of ties into the Trinity, because with the Trinity you have the seed, which is like the soul, and then you have mem, which is water, and then you have ori, which is light. So the seed needs memory to grow. If you don't have mem, if you don't have water, you're not able to grow strong roots and go into the earth, into the heart, into the core. And if you don't have light, you're not able to branch out, because the light is the knowledge, and the water is the more intuition. So what these myths and stuff tell me is that we've kind of been disconnected with our waters, which is the subconscious, which is like rivers in our mind, our psyche, which are in here, but also out there. There's waterways everywhere. We have rivers, we have ley lines. That water is what connects us all, and our vibration ripples through the water. But if we're closed off from trauma, like Narcissus was by his sister being killed, or removed or whatever, that's where we store our trauma, is in the subconscious. So then we're only like walking around 5%. This is why in the spiritual community, when they say, oh, we're conscious beings, it's like, well, are you really, or are you just like all love and light and not kind of tuned into like the depth, the deep, the dark? Because really that's where the light is found. It's in the dark. And that's the hero's journey, and that's the Kairos journey, and that's Christ's journey, and that's our journey, is to go into the dark, into the innermost cave, and emerge with the light. And there's much more to that. With the light as being hidden for a reason, that when we come into this realm, perhaps it's not safe to share it, because it will just be extracted by gaslighting or manipulation and stuff. Because as children, I think we bury our light, we hide it. And I think that my life path, is to help people become the dragon, which is a balance of the eagle, like the air, the mind, and the snake, the body, the intuition, and then breathe fire, which just means to speak wisdom. Because there's a reason that dragons guard caves. They guard gold in the cave, because the cave is the dark, is the innermost cave, and the gold is our spark, and the dragon
Mm.
is us. It's our highest potential. And that's why the dragon's been demonized, and that's why the snake's been demonized, because these are just very symbolic, powerful
Mm.
energies. And yeah, it's my path to try and help people find this spark, which is in their seed, which is in the core. Even if the memory or like the water, the well's been poisoned, and then there's a false light. If the well's poisoned in the core of the earth, there's 2 times, 3 times much water as on the surface. So all we need to do is dig our roots a bit deeper, and we'll get this fresh primary spring water from the core of the earth, from the core of the heart. And the
Mm.
light, we don't need the light from externally. The light, the flame is inside the seed. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think that's what I'm being guided to really is just go within when I did the 5 6 day water fast, I was just very like cocooned and went in, and it was probably it was only recently, it was the hardest one. But when I came out of it, it felt like I was in the dark and then the light, but I wasn't focused on the external. I went
Yeah.
really in, and that's what I'm being called with building this relationship with God now and bringing in God's light as well as part of that. And I think this is what all of what you're sharing is really useful information, but also it's about having this information, how we can apply it in our lives so we can apply the application of truth in a way that's changing us from the inside out. And so how is what you've been researching in your this awareness that you have now, how has that changed you from the inside out?
um how it's changed me, like I have a direct line with what you'd call God or source. And that direct line is via imagination, is via intuition. Um, Not knowledge. Knowledge can only get you so far. Like I say, knowledge is to know the ledge. Great. You know there's a ledge. What are you gonna do about it? Just
Mm,
stop there and stare at the brick wall? Are you gonna like build more walls with your knowledge? Build a castle, sit in it, which a lot of people do, or like you're gonna break down the walls and flow like water and
mm,
go beyond time and space. So my the sort of yeah, my so when we go inwards, we're able to expand outwards more, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a paradox. um so there's a phrase like change starts from within, and it's like I kind of do get that now. But sometimes we need to go without, we need to seek things outside, like knowledge, like going to retreats, this that, to know that that's not the way. I think that we can't go inwards straight away. It goes knowledge, then intuition. Like that is the ki, that is the key to wisdom. You can't have intuition without knowledge, because you've got no ledges to bounce off. You don't know what's true. Like you're just very
mm,
watery and like, oh, I like very spiritual, and oh, nothing's good, nothing's bad, you know.
mm,
So yeah, with my research and stuff, I've just been able to just I guess have a direct line with source or God, or just
mm.
all just be open. And I guess you mentioned a part, because I've written that down, and it's like people say like we're a part of God. I've been saying not apart from it, because lots of people want to externalize God, like, oh well, like usually like monotheistic religions is God is outside. People worship the sun, worship the moon, worship Mars, whatever. Whereas really we're a part of it. It's not separate. Nothing is
No,
separate. It's
yeah.
We're in water, and we are all our own individual souls in water. Soul is light, as is soul is the name for the sun, which is light, which is in water up there, as are all the lights of the stars.
Mm,
Our DNA, our light is in water, and us now, you and me, we're in water and we emit light.
mm,
So, but we're a part of water, and light travels on water. Um, So yeah, I hope that answers
Yeah.
the question a little bit.
Yeah, and I definitely we are an aspect of God. So this is kind of what I've been focusing on and been coming into my awareness more and more as things have been shifting and I've been letting things go, is that yeah, we all are an aspect of God, but there, and this can be controversial as well, really, maybe trigger some people, but where there's a God inside of us, that aspect of God, but there is a God outside of us, and that God is bringing in, what I've been doing every single day is bringing in the holy light of God, that God's light, that light that's been actually cut off from us. We are an aspect because we can't ever be not an aspect of God, but we haven't been connecting in with that holy light, that light of God, which some call the Holy Spirit. And so the more we bring in that light, the more what that light is doing is helping us, one, activate the God spark that is within us that we've kind of forgotten about. Some call it the God particle, and this God particle is kind of I believe is like this device that's within our heart, and it's kind of like an energetic device that spins the more we kind of can activate it by bringing this light of God. And so this is just a practice that I've been doing, and the more that this light is coming in and I'm actively consciously bringing in this light, and eventually it'll just be the light's there, but because we're kind of remembering and we have to consciously bring in this light, it helps us to just have this awareness and recognition that we are all part of that, and an aspect of that. And so I think this is where the practice needs to come in. And this is the things that Jesus was teaching his disciples, which is another level of teachings. He wasn't teaching this to, the people he was going out and doing sermons for. These were like next level teachings, and there's some other things around that as well. But for me, it's changing me and it's helping me to be more godlike. We were not God, and I think because if we all were God, all of us would be godlike. We'd be all acting godlike. But we're not there yet. Maybe one day, once we start really truly remembering the divinity that's within us and start acting from this place of more compassion, love, joy, and but we're in a world where there's a lot of dark still. And eventually, I feel like we're all going to be activated again to fully know who we truly are. So that's just my take on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just when you said God particle, I was thinking like CERN, and CERN are like trying to find what the God particle is, which they'll never
Yes.
find because it doesn't
They'll
exist.
never find it. And you know what's
Yeah.
interesting with that though
Yeah.
as well is every time they've got close to doing the experiment on the CERN, the experiments failed, and it's destroyed it. The experiment they were doing, because you can't recreate God. It's impossible to recreate God.
Yeah. Well, also, what they're trying to do, this is just a reflection of the demiurge, this blind god,
Mm,
which these like beings are following. They're trying to dissect matter. They're trying to like dissect the mother, like Horus in the Egyptian story. Horus the Younger beheaded Isis, his mother, cut here at the neck, just split into two. Marduk, he cut this dragon, the mother of the gods, which both Isis and Tiamat represents water or plasma that gives birth to all life. They cut it. The demiurge, his mother Sophia, wisdom, like she gave birth to the demiurge, and the demiurge rejected his mother, rejected matter. This is what's going on now with these like beings, because I find it hard to call them human, is that they're trying to reject matter, and by doing this they're trying to split it. So as these other stories, which did they happen or not, they're just archetypal energies, they're just here. I can just see it playing out now, this story of the demiurge,
mm.
that this blind god, that they're trying to like dissect matter, and that they'll never find the God particle because we're in a field. We're not in with atoms, schmatums, whatever. I've never seen them, but I can feel the energy, the light in which we're in. And I know that we're in a field, a vibratory field, water, light, both waves. We're in a wave, and that when something's observed, then it collapses into matter and then it becomes physical.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on is that they're trying to stop us, the 1% are trying to stop us tapping into the 99%, which is the field. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just funny that the 1% is the physical matter,
Mm-hmm.
and that the 1% elite are trying to like dissect it. They're trying to kind of split the moon, split this womb in which we're in. And the reason why I mention this, my train of thought, is that there's a story in Zervanism, which is like an ancient Persian religion. It might have been like one of the first religions. You have Zervan, which is cosmic time, which is like the timeless, formless. Let's call it Sophia, wisdom, because the timelessness is wisdom. It goes beyond time. Zervan gave birth to two twins. There's a story of the two twins echoed throughout time, the two brothers. So many stories. It's the same story. So you have Ahura Mazda, the good one, and then you have Ahriman, or Ahura Mazda, no, or Angry Manu. Sounds like Angry Man,
Mm-hmm.
Angry Manu, or Ahriman. Let's call like one God, one Satan. Let's call Ahura Mazda the good one, God, or like Christ, and Ahriman like Satan. So what Ahriman saw, or he basically, Ahura Mazda was supposed to be born from the womb first, but Ahriman found out about this, so he forced his way out of the womb. He ripped his way out of the womb, and this is what's happening now with this AI satanic anti-life stuff. Is that they're trying to, the powers that be are trying to force this Ahrimanic satanic force into the realm by splitting matter, because
Mm-hmm.
CERN have been opening up portals. They've said they don't know what's going to come in, what's going to go out. They know full well what's going to come in. It's
Yeah.
energy which isn't supposed to be here. Uh, Rudolf Steiner called it the eighth sphere, which I said sounds like eight Sophia, which is the death of wisdom. Um, and when you have the death of wisdom, you have hollow shells. That's our divine spark dissolved. And unfortunately, it's happened to a lot of people, because people think that this realm is a prison that matters, that it's the end times, the end of days, climate change, this, that. There's so much put on people that they kind of either like close themselves off or just give their spark away. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is that with the God particle, they're never going to find it, because it's the more and more you look into stuff, the more and more you will find. You're not going to be like, oh, here it is. Here is the thing that created everything. And it's the same. It's the same with God. I believe that it's undefined. It's an undefinable energy. It's like it's the all there is, and it's like we're in it, we're a part of it. And
Yeah.
I just find it laughable that CERN are trying to find this God
Oh,
particle, this like this realm is made of like mechanical bricks in Minecraft, where actually it's
yeah.
just a field, and that field is magic. And when you acknowledge the field, like
Mm-hmm.
you wave, the wave waves back, and then we can channel God through us,
Mm-hmm.
because these beings cannot channel God through
No.
them. They have to try and dissect and analytical and atomize, and turning the word womb or matrix into an atom or a tomb. Like they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make this realm feel like it's like a tomb. Like, oh, we need to
Yeah.
like escape into the technology, or escape into outer space, rather than just like being present, being here. And so there's a lot going on with CERN and
Mm-hmm.
this AI, and them trying to make it into a new god that people give their energy to. And people have been giving their energy to AI and artificial. People have been getting like AI girlfriends, and
Oh God, it's
like
crazy.
it's crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's just this nature or human energy versus this satanic or machine or mechanical,
Yeah.
and there is a battle going on, like you said. And that we can see it playing out in real time, but
Hmm.
also it goes beyond that. Like we can only see like the 1%, the 99% all around us. There's a lot going on, and
Mm. Oh God, yeah.
we can't see it, but we can feel it and we can
Mhm.
sense it. And every now and again, like by doing research or like myself, like language and etymology and splitting things, we can kind of like help it make sense and
Mhm.
speak this force, these thoughts, so people can understand. But only some can understand. It's not for everybody, all of this stuff. Like
No,
I
it
think
could be a lot
we're,
for
we're probably
people.
gone beyond being called crazy, like because when you think outside the box or like go against the grain, you are told you're crazy. But do you know what? I'd rather be weird, which weird is it's a word. It means to fate, to cast your own fate. WYRD, weird. I'd
Mm.
rather be weird than insane, because a lot of people are insane, just repeating the same patterns, the same cycles. And to be weird is just to cast your own fate. And some of this information and stuff and this mystery is weird. It's like the truth is actually stranger than fiction. Like there's stories of like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's it's way more crazy and way more magical and way more beautiful than we've ever thought.
Mm. Yeah, this world is it's when you it's supernatural. Let's just put it that way, very supernatural. And yeah,
Yeah.
this has been really great. It's been great information shared, and I think what I just want to because going down into the research that you've done, it might not be for everybody to do that. And so they can, if they want to know more about what wisdom, what you share, check out his weekly roundtable panel that you do every Saturday at 4 p.m. You do something on a Tuesday as well. I can put the details in the description for people, but I think I would what's the takeaway you can just kind of share with people that's going to give them hope where they can think, yeah, okay, they know we're in a spiritual battle. We know there's forces out there that are pulling us away from the divinity within us. What are some simple things that they can start to do, or just some words of encouragement?
um so some some practical things are with words. For example, let's use the word reality. Get rid of the itty, get rid of the itty nitty bitty gritty of what it's let's just call it real reality. It's just the real. It is real reality. That's what it is. There's stuff added on that we don't need. There's been walls built that we don't need in our psyche, in the world around us. So many barriers and stuff put up around us that didn't used to be here 10 years ago in the physical, because of health and safety and stuff. And they want to like Kate, like what's the word, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to say that. Actually, no, I will. So they want to like cage our hearts and basically. Oh, what was the saying? Sorry, you can tell. You can probably tell I'm not 100% because
No,
usually I'd like come up with this stuff straight away.
you're
But
doing great. I know
my
you were
trains
ill
of
yesterday.
thought has not gone to plan today, so I apologise for that. Not always like this. I'm a little bit like straying from the path and going down not a rabbit hole, but going off in a different stream of awareness, but able to like navigate back. But my navigation's just not been on point today. Like there's
Yeah, and it's Friday
disorientation.
the 13th as well. So, like we were
I,
talking earlier about the
I,
energies, there's something very
yeah.
strange going on.
So yeah, Friday the 13th, the day the Knights Templar were betrayed, and it was the 2020 Friday the 13th was the first lockdown in America. So I think today signals betrayal. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like happens today with like some kind of betrayal of some kind. I'll put it out there. This might not even be going out today, I don't think.
I'll try and get it out today.
So Friday the 13th, if something happens today, just know that like these are just patterns that are repeated, that they just follow the same script. And this is what the artificial, like fake does.
Mm.
So some practical things like, yeah, just with words, like having fun with words and playing around. Like I said, a manual is just like a manual, it's like a way to be. And reality is just real. It's not the itty. You don't need that. So just letting go of stuff you don't need. Also, just yeah, like practical kind of like alchemy as well. I'm gonna have to say this really quickly before I go, that Saturn is the planet of like time and space and boundaries, and I've been seeing Saturn getting a bad rap on social media and stuff by lots of people saying Saturn is Satan and stuff. So with time and boundaries, like we're in time at the moment. We're just light on the wave that is time. The Greeks had two words for time. One was kairos, which if you look at images of him, he looks much like Mercury with wings and the sandals, very youthful and like childlike. Okay. And then Chronos, which is the more chronological linear time. Kairos is the flow time. Saturn has two poles. One's the hexagram and the North Pole, which is what fourth phase easy water, structured water looks like. A hexagram, that's when water's happiest. The hexagram, that's a symbol for magic as well, because water is magical. And that is the hexagram, which is being used and it's been like demonized for a long time, which is really well, which is done for a reason, of course. But my point in this is we're in 3D, and then there's the fourth dimension of time, and there's 5D, which is beyond time. People will probably hear us going to 5D, but what I've been saying is we need to bring the 5D to the 3D. We need to bring the spirit back into the world soul, back into the body. And we do that by going beyond time, like water, because like Saturn is to do with time and boundaries. The North Pole is the hexagram, which is water. There's different perspectives of time. Sometimes when you're in a flow state, time moves differently. When you're doing something you don't enjoy, time moves much slower. So time is malleable. We can use time. Time is not our enemy. Time is a very powerful tool that we have, and it's time we reclaimed our time by tuning into the watery flow energy of time, perhaps using the intuition rather than knowledge, rather than seeking outwards and the linear, going inwards to the more spherical, Sophia spiral wisdom. So that's the kind of practical thing, I guess, just being more open to stuff rather than building up barriers to information and knowledge and stuff. And if you're open to it, it doesn't mean that it needs to define you. Like when we're angry, we should just let anger flow through us. We shouldn't let the emotion define us. Don't let the information you come across define you. Just try and like sort of like let things come into your space and let them go if they don't serve you. But by letting more things in, you might find that you're letting in more parts of yourself, because we've been closed off to God or source or to our potential, our core potential. And by being open and having awareness, awe and airness, awe of the heart and airness of the mind, being balanced in the center, you can kind of create a vortex around you of the fire and water, the masculine and feminine, electric, magnetic. Let it spin around you. And from vortexes, things come into this realm and things go out of this realm. So it's not so much as having this heaviness you need to put down somewhere. You can just have an anchor point. Just find what anchors. With me personally, mediation anchors me. Some find it through meditation. I find mediation. I find just being in the center, hearing this, that, and just letting things spin, and then using my synchromistic sort of analogy of it, just taking what I feel is needed at the time or maybe needed in the future. So yeah, and also with this ancient story of Ahura Mazda, Ahriman, and Zervan, this is to do with time or Saturn as well. It's to do with that throughout time, things emerge. Something good, something bad. We're just coming out of a dark age, supposedly Kali Yuga, into the Dwapara Yuga, the upward cycle, and we're kind of at a crossroads right now. And there is a reason that we're here right now. I've heard people saying they feel like they don't belong in this world, and people may be feeling that. And this ties into the whole like outwards, I'm from another planet kind of thing, which I don't buy at all. Like, I really feel connected to here, the earth. This is our home, this is our room. We need to reclaim it. But my point in saying this is that this ancient story of Hura Mazda, the good one, always wins, always emerges. But what we see right now is we see this artificial emerging, and that perhaps we knew this was going to be happening, and perhaps that we chose to be here at this time, or it's divine timing, that we are the ones to counter this in our own unique way. Not that we need to be the only ones, that by speaking our truth, always speak your truth, even if somebody else says it's negative ions are really, really healthy. They're really beneficial from salt lamps and water. We want to be more negatively charged. We want more of that magnetic energy, more magic, opposed to more electrical kind of positive charge. Balance is key. But I feel that people are so sensitive to stuff. You say things sometimes and they're like, oh, I can't believe you just mentioned the world's full of pedophiles, or COVID, or there's trigger words. And it's like, the more and more we speak about all of this stuff that's going on, the more it'll be normalized, and not normalized in the way that we'll just let it happen. People will become aware of it, and there'll be more eyes focused on this wave that they're creating, and that this wave will collapse or dissolve. The only way that sorry, this has been a long like wrap up. The only way that the shadow dissolves is when it's observed, and our eyes take in light, but also we emit light as well. And when we start emitting more light, the shadow will dissolve. And the only way we emit light is by breathing fire or speaking our truth. Because if we don't speak and stay in silence, that can be beneficial. Meditating, we send out energy, but words have powerful current behind it. Like abracadabra, as I speak, I create. You know, more people need to be speaking truth and not be afraid of doing that. Like, they tried covering up our mouths in 2020. That's very symbolic of what they're trying to do. This fog, you mentioned yourself since a few days ago feeling, oh well, I wonder if anyone else has felt a bit poorly since we had the fog on, I think, the 9th or 10th, Monday or Tuesday. My throat's been very closed off. Like, there is subtle energies trying to block our throat, trying to stop us speaking. So yeah, just, I mean, the word psyop, that's happened a lot. We'll get more of them, and that's just pounds per square inch is PSI. That's just density. They want to try and make things seem more dense, so things may become more dense. But when this is to do with alchemy, that when things do become more dense, that's how some people via trauma, I condone trauma. I don't say trauma is necessary, but some people, when they've had trauma, they're able to tap into extrasensory perception, like clairvoyance, claircognizance, and stuff like that. That there's a lot of trauma in the world, and that there's a lot of what's the word? How to put it? There's a lot of fire being created within people right now, I sense, because of the darkness, which is the trauma in the world. And that people have been spread out, and that it's been an isolating journey for me personally. But I see more and more people now, even like every day, opposed to every year over the last 5 years, emerging and spreading their fire, which is just this light, this vibration that ripples through this water like a light spreads out. And for me, that is beautiful. And you know, it's in the dark is where the seed is, and that's where the seed grows. But the dark doesn't necessarily mean the bad, it just means the hidden. There's been stuff that's been occulted from us about our past, our history. Trauma isn't necessarily the dark. Trauma can actually stop people growing, but by this trauma that we recognize, it can help us emerge and help us try and give some memory and water to other people's seeds so that they may emerge too, because this
Mm.
isn't just a journey we can do on our own anymore. This is a
No.
journey that we all need to be working together in union, hence all the division. So apologies
Mm.
for a long wrap up.
That's all right.
It's just a few. It's hard to try and give a bit of clarity or insight or anything that just in like a few words. It's more of like
Yeah.
a short story of what's going on and how
Mm.
we can cultivate what is going on and why it's
Yeah.
important we do that. You know.
Yeah, and I think it's you said it a minute ago, like, we can't do this on our own. I think this is where we've tried to be like, no, I can do it. Like, I am my own savior. Where actually, I've realized I can't actually save myself. I do need support, and it's
Yeah.
supernatural support. And this is where God is really like, or He's delivered me from, and I went through some deliverances, and it shocked me what I went through, to be fair, where God removed energies out of me. So yeah, just ask, honestly, like, just ask for that divine creator that you are part, or you are an aspect of, to to guide you and support you, basically. And so yeah, hand it over. You're not giving your
Yeah.
power away by doing that as well, like, we need support.
Yeah, so by you asking, is that you're waving,
Yeah.
you're acknowledging the wave, which is the field, which is God, which I mentioned is the
Mm,
magic. But you acknowledge it. You have to wave. You have to
mm,
open and ask. You can't
yeah.
just get something by not acknowledging it, by not asking, by
Yeah.
not like with the manifestation thing. It's like we are already that we want to be. But if
Hmm.
we step into that perception of we are already that,
Mm, mm,
like this like mind over matter, or
yeah.
will start to become
Mm,
um and I just need to mention, I think, did you mention, I've written down repent here and damned, because those are two words that are used in the Bible, I believe. That repent is just to go inwards, that's what it
mm,
means.
yeah.
There's like to repent is to go inwards, and to be damned,
Change the mind.
yeah, and to like dams block water. To
Mm,
be dammed is to have barriers which block your waterways, which you can think of as your thoughts, the thoughts, your
mm,
psyche.
mm,
You can think of it as blood in your veins, the waterways in your body that moves the consciousness around. Chakras, vortexes in our body, energy
mm,
centers. There's blockages. So to release those blockages is to kind of to dissolve them, and
mm,
therefore will be more in a flow state, more in tune with that childlike wonder of time, of that
mm,
kind of flow, and that magic that is God, that field can therefore flow through us, and that's what a channel is. Channeling is flow, so
mm,
therefore we'll be able to channel and have a direct line to God or
mm,
source, however you want to call it, and
mm.
we're vessels for that. And
Yeah.
as above, so below. The stars above, they're like frequencies in water that we can tune into. And
Mhm,
we have light in water in us, our DNA. And that's as above, so below. The water's above and the water's within. And then
mhm,
that is the channel. That's how this kind of the all mind or spirit that is God that can flow through us into us, and then we can expand outwards. Once again, it's kind of like a toroidal is a good way to explain it, or a yin yang kind of
mm.
a flow.
Yeah.
So we just remember we're vessels and we can channel God through us. Some people channel beings and stuff, they're just perhaps parts of God, but if you actually channel God, that is the isness. It's not little bits. It is
Mm,
this whole ocean of awareness
mm,
that we should all be
mm.
channeling. But we have
Yeah.
blockages which have been built by
Yeah.
external forces, and now
Mm,
it's time to help others
mhm.
dissolve this and also go inwards and try and dissolve this too. And it's a process and it
Mm.
happens over time. And
It is,
what a time
yeah.
to be alive, really, at the
It
moment.
is,
Um,
exactly. That's what I believe.
yeah,
It is an amazing time to be alive. It really is. And
yeah,
we're going to see a lot of change happening for good. And I think more of, like, God's presence is really starting to, that light is really starting to come through now. I think we're in a time where we're able to receive it more. So, yeah. This has been
Cheers.
amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. We'll put all your details below. If you want to check out your panel I talked about, and yeah, anything else that you want to share and offer. But great. All right,
Awesome.
everybody, please like, subscribe, and comment, and share with anybody you think will find this interesting. Help them. Have a blessed day, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.